everybody, and welcome to this video. This is episode 3 of me building my PC. So for those that have tuned into the previous episode, you'll know that I'm in the process of building a new PC. My current one is about 5 years old and it's kind of reaching end of life and I'm needing something better. So I've been ordering parts and I've had 2 deliveries already and I've had a third one, which now means that I have all the parts for me to actually start to build this system up. And I want to take you through the last 2 parts that came and talk to you about them and why I chose them. Now, arguably, this is probably one of the most important components of the PC, and that's my motherboard. I've went for the MSI B450 Gaming Pro Carbon AC motherboard. This is quite a solid motherboard, to be honest. I actually looked at the MSI B450 Tomahawk, which is a standard kind of motherboard that most people go for, and when you look through what people are building nowadays, it's a staple. And yeah, that was my first choice. And then I started to build up the PC and realised that the Tomahawk board only had a Ethernet connection, so a wired internet connection, and I'd have to add a separate device to give me Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Now that's not necessarily an issue because I've already got a PCI card in the current PC that gives me Wi-Fi, but having a look at it, I realised that there was actually an MSI board, this one, that had built-in Wi-Fi and built-in Bluetooth into it, so it kind of saved on the messing around of having additional PCs put into the motherboard. Rightly or wrongly, that's kind of why I've went for it. Now, I did look at the comparison between the MSI B450 Tomahawk and this one, and I want to take you through some of the stats because they're fairly on par with each other, if I'm really honest with you, and I'm going to pull it up so that I don't get it wrong. It was the Tomahawk Max that I'd actually looked at. I think there's a Tomahawk and a Tomahawk Max. So I'm going to compare this one, the B450 Gaming Pro Carbon AC, and the Tomahawk Max. The difference, and one of the main differences that might put people off this motherboard, is the fact that it only supports up to the AMD Ryzen 7 series of CPUs. The Tomahawk Max supports up to the Ryzen 9. Now, I think if I'm right in saying this, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the Ryzen 9 is fairly new. So the fact that the Tomahawk Max supports it is great, but at the moment it's not something that I'm looking at. Price point wise, it's still a bit too pricey for me, and I think I can get what I need from the Ryzen 7, so that's absolutely fine for me. If at some point I want to go up to Ryzen 9, then I'm going to have to buy a new motherboard for the CPU, but again, that's not a major issue, and it's something that I can build on as well. In terms of the memory, the Tomahawk Max does support more terms of speed, so you can go up to, I think it supports up to the 4000 odd range in DDR4 memory, whereas this motherboard only supports up to the 3466 speed. So there is a bit of a difference, but again, for what I need, I think what I've got in terms of DDR4 support, I'm absolutely going to be fine. Both boards max out, I think, at 64 now gig of RAM, which to be honest is a bit confusing because some of the material around this board says that it supports up to 128 gig of RAM, and then other parts of MSI's website say 64 gig. So I'm not entirely sure what the max is, but to be honest, even 64 gig is probably going to be enough for what I need. It's 32 gig of RAM is going in it, so again, probably more than I need at this time. The other differences around this is some of the PCI support. Now I think we have slightly better or more support from the Tomahawk Max in terms of PCI support in the motherboard, but again, for what I'm using it for, I'm not going to notice and not going to need it. One advantage this motherboard gives you over the Tomahawk Max is you can actually have 2 M2 drives in this, which I may use, I may not. I think though when you do that within this motherboard, it does share the same kind of transport, so speeds are a bit reduced, but again, it gives you that flexibility if you want to go down that road. I think the LAN connection, so the Ethernet connection in these motherboards versus the Tomahawk Max, again are slightly different, but I'm not going to be utilising this. I have a Wi-Fi connection or Wi-Fi mesh system in my house that I'm going to use. I don't have any wired Ethernet in my office, although to be honest, that's something that I'll probably look at down the road and putting some wired connections in. So it may make a difference, it may not, but again, that's fine. There's some differences around USB ports and the types and the speeds. So I think the Tomahawk Max supports more USB 3.2 ports than this board does. But again, for what I'm going to be connecting, I'm generally connecting, I think at the moment within my current PC, I connect a mouse receiver, a keyboard receiver, and I have an external SD card kind of USB reader, and that's all I've got in terms of USB. Probably when I connect in with a new PC, I'll probably put my Rode microphone and my webcam in, but again, I think even those devices don't run on USB 3.2, I don't think, because of their age. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not going to be an issue for me. And I think that's it. I think they do list that this motherboard still supports Windows 7, but obviously I'll be going for Windows 10, so that's another thing. When I was researching this motherboard, there was a bit of confusion around whether it actually supports the AMD 3 series, and I think the original one didn't, and it had to do a BIOS update before it did, and that caught a lot of people out, especially when it was first brought out. But looking at this, and I think you'll see on the packaging here, it says that it supports the AMD Ryzen 3000 series. So I'm hoping that the BIOS update will be on this and in this, and I'll not have to deal with that, but obviously that's something that I can do. This motherboard, and I don't know if the Tomahawk actually has a pretty cool functionality. I don't know if you'll be able to see it here on the back, but what it does have is a flash BIOS button and a dedicated kind of USB port. So from what I understand, you plug in a USB drive with the flash, or the BIOS flash update in it, press that little button and it does it, and you don't have to have an operating system or any of that kind of connected to the motherboard in order to flash the BIOS. So I think that's pretty cool, and yeah, so that's the motherboard that I've got. So I've talked quite a bit about that. So yeah, that's what I'm going for the motherboard. And the other part that arrived is in this nice bubble protection case. It's a traditional hard disk, spinning disc. It's a Toshiba PCP300. It's 3 terabytes, and it gives good speed in terms of read writes, etc., and performance. It's literally going to be kind of an archive drive. So like I said in my last video, the M2 Samsung 970 is going to be my operating system drive, my main kind of working drive, and this will just be either for storing files or maybe even working on files depending on the speed and stuff like that. So yeah, that's just there to give me some storage, because the 1 terabyte on the Samsung is definitely not going to be enough for me. So yeah, that's 2 things that arrived. This is Tuesday. I'm not going to get time to dedicate actually building the system up during the week, so it's going to be this Saturday or Sunday before I get a chance to do this. What I want to do in the meantime though is have a look at benchmarking my current PC, so just having a look at what performance it's actually given me, and then I'm able to, when I build up this new PC, able to do a benchmark and show you the improvements. Fingers crossed it's an improvement. I imagine it is going to be, because it's 5-year-old tech versus tech now. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do this week, and try and get that video out and show you what we're working against, and then at the weekend I'll get the PC built up, and fingers crossed it all goes smoothly and I'll be able to show you the build video. Thank you for tuning in. Any comments, suggestions, feedback, please do let me know, and please remember to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the little notification bell. See you soon, everybody.